Şimdi dijital pazarlama uzmanlarının çok severek kullandığı tool olan DeepCrawl'dan sen bizlerle olacak. Google Data Studio ile SEO raporlarındaki otomasyondan bahsedecek bizlere. Now, from DeepCrawl, one of the loveliest tool for digital marketers, Sam will be with us at Digital Zone stage.
Good morning, everyone. How are we all doing? It's a great pleasure to be here with you all today in this great venue. When I came in this morning, I noticed this ridiculous camera rig. It's like absolutely insane. It's like something out of a film set. I was wondering whether it was like a digital marketing conference or the next Mission Impossible film. It's insane. I'm still kind of expecting Tom Cruise to kind of burst in through the back doors at any given opportunity. So I'm Sam Marsden, and I'm going to be talking about how you can work more efficiently by automating SEO reporting with Google Data Studio. So a bit about me. I'm an in-house SEO at DeepCrawl. So I optimize things, I write things, I track their performance. And on the agenda for the next 20 minutes, we're going to be talking about what the need is for report automation, why Data Studio is a really good way of automating reporting within SEO, and also looking at some time-saving dashboards that you can build out. So what's the need for report automation within SEO? Well, to begin with, it's 2018, and if Elon Musk can launch a Tesla up into space, into orbit, just for a laugh, then surely we can find the time to automate some of the processes that we have in our day-to-day. Also, there's a big competition for SERPs now. Competition is getting increasingly it's getting increasingly fiercer, and I was at Brighton SEO listening to Rand Fishkin the other week, and he was talking about how organic opportunity is actually minimizing. There's less and less, so the message is that you need to speed up or else you're going to lose out. Alternatively, you could sit tight and wait for the AI apocalypse to come along, but I think we're a few years off of that, so let's keep things pragmatic. So the focus needs to be on making your workflows easier, faster, and smarter. And if you take away anything from this talk today, I'd really recommend just taking some time to think about what your recurring tasks are and where you spend your time. Start with your regular to-dos. So look at what the unnecessary kind of manual parts of those workflows are and start there. Because even if you're only saving a small amount of time, that's soon going to add up over time. So fortunately, there are a load of great automation tools out there which are here to help. So Data Studio is a really great way of automating SEO reporting. It was launched a couple of years ago now, and there's lots of great possibilities to connect all of your data sources together all into one place. If we look at Google Trends, you can see that since the launch of Data Studio, interest has just gone up and up. So it seems like people are talking about this more and more. If I can go to the next slide. So we put out a poll via the DeepCrawl Twitter account, and we were asking to what extent do people use dashboards to automate parts of SEO. And the response was really overwhelming. So we had over 800 people respond, which is really great to see, but the majority of people had never actually used any form of dashboarding, including Data Studio. So from this, I kind of took that there's a lot of interest in there, but the adoption of Data Studio and other dashboarding tools is actually quite low. So I think there's a big opportunity here. And the people that are using Data Studio, they're saying a lot of great things about it. So yeah, it looks to be a great opportunity. I think the reason why there's this high level of interest but low level of adoption is that it's difficult to break out of our manual workflows and kind of embrace new technologies. And I think the key to this is kind of removing the barriers, minimizing the hows, and I think Data Studio ticks a lot of those boxes because it's free for the most part, it's really easy to set up, and there are many different possibilities to connect data sets together. So I'd like to start with an example. It wasn't too long ago that my manager used to come to me and say, how are we looking for traffic for this month on the DeepCrawl site? And I'd go off and say, let me check. So I go into analytics, and I go through this quite manual workflow of going into the audience report, looking at the number of sessions for a selected data range, working out projection for that month, comparing it to previous months, communicating that back to my manager. And it didn't take that long to do, maybe only a couple of minutes, but that soon adds up. So if it takes me a couple of minutes to do, then that's, if that's 2 minutes per week, 8 minutes per month, 96 minutes per year, all in all, it's too much time wasted. And coincidentally, 96 minutes is the exact same runtime as the film Up, which doesn't really have any connection, but if I have 96 minutes free to watch Up an extra time per year, then that's great. It's a heartwarming Pixar classic. So the solution that I came up with was the Content Performance Dashboard, and it's a really simple application of analytics data. And so you've got all of the filters along the top here, and it's got the top-level metrics, which my manager can look at, and I can also dig down into the data with page-level insights, as well as a number of graphs and charts as well. So yeah. So you can look at things like trends over time, page-level insights, which I mentioned. So now when my manager comes to me and says, how are we looking for traffic, I can just point her in the direction of this dashboard, which is really useful. So before we look at any more dashboards, I just want to go through some of the finer points of Google Data Studio. So what does Data Studio consist of? Well, you bring in your different data sources, which can be Google data sources, third-party ones. You can even build your own with custom connectors. And then you visualize these in different reports, and they've also recently released an Explorer mode as well, which is useful for kind of quick insights and experimentation. And another really useful part of Data Studio, it's not connected to Data Studio, but if you get a Supermetrics license, this allows you to make use of loads of different third-party tools. So for SEO purposes, you might want to bring in SEMrush data, data from Moz, Search Metrics, Adobe Analytics. It's all going to be really useful stuff to pull into dashboards. Another useful part of Data Studio is data blending, which has also been released recently. And this allows you to mix different data sources together within the same visualizations based on a common join key. So you could theoretically bring in analytics data with all of the engagement metrics that brings, mix that with Search Console data, so you've got clicks and impressions, and combine that into one visualization or table. There are a few bugs with this at the moment, and I think Data Studio, their team seem to work on things quite quickly, so it should be ironed out, but it's still a kind of work in progress. Also, you've got calculated fields. So these are loads of Excel-like functions. So they've got quite an extensive library which you can use to transform the data that you're pulling into Data Studio. There's also a really active forum as well. So I've had questions answered about Data Studio in a matter of minutes, which is great. And also on the topic of calculated fields, I'd really recommend checking out a Whiteboard Friday by Dana de Tomaso. I think I'm pronouncing that right. So I'd really recommend checking that out. That's a good kind of primer on calculated fields. Okay, so onto the dashboard. So automated SEO reporting. I'm going to take you through 4 different things you can automate. So we're going to look at indexing issues and crawl errors based on crawl data. Then we're going to look at organic cannibalization and a dashboard that can help you there. Then we're going to look at brand visibility and automating monthly reporting, which is they're all going to save you time. So how can you bring in crawl insights into Data Studio? The best way to do this with deep crawl data is through Zapier. And for those of you that don't know about Zapier, it's a really useful non-technical tool that allows you to connect different applications together. So you're creating triggers in one place, and they're forming actions in another. So what you can do with regards to deep crawl is you're creating a trigger on a completed crawl and then populating that in something like Google Sheets. So our Zapier integration kind of feeds into DeepCrawl's open source approach to things. We're all about trying to make our data freely available where you need it, so it's nice and convenient for you rather than trying to pull our clients into our platform all of the time. And this kind of feeds into a data warehouse approach. So you bring in all of these different data sets, pull them into a data warehouse like BigQuery, and then you can visualize them in Data Studio. So how do you go about bringing in deep crawl data into Data Studio? Well, you need to go into Zapier, and you'd create a zap which triggers on a completed crawl. That then creates a new row within Google Sheets, and then that connects with Data Studio and automatically updates a dashboard. So what are some of the dashboards that you can create? Ooh, gone too far. So one of our technical SEOs at DeepCrawl, Adam Gent, he created this XML Sitemap dashboard, which is really useful for bringing together DeepCrawl data and putting it side by side with Google Search Console data, which is really useful. This is what the dashboard looks like. So along the top here, you've got the number of URLs within a crawl, which is coming from DeepCrawl. Then below that to the left, you've got a pages breakdown from DeepCrawl. So you've got things like primary pages, canonicals, non-indexables, etc. And alongside that, you've got sitemap data from Search Console. So that's the number of submitted and indexed URLs. So what this allows you to do is conveniently monitor insights from both of these places side by side. It's also useful for easily flagging indexing issues. So I don't know if anyone was hit by the Yoast attachment issue. It was like a few months ago now. But on the DeepCrawl site, what it meant for us is that we had a load of image URLs that they were put into Google's index. So overnight, we had double the number of pages that we actually expected in the index, which is a bit of a problem. So with this dashboard, it allowed me to immediately find this problem. So I found it the next day, and then I could implement a fix and then kind of track its return, the return of the number of index pages back down to a normal level. So it's great for tracking index pages over time. And ultimately, this is going to save you time by building out these sorts of dashboards. So moving on to the second one, brand visibility, which is something that's becoming increasingly important, particularly within SEO, as search engines get more advanced. You need to think about building brand authority and brand visibility. So what you need is a holistic place where you can view all of your brand performance indicators, and you can glance at them and see how you're tracking on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And you can do that by bringing in Search Console data, My Business data, Google Ads, and a variety of social metrics, basically anything that's going to give you an idea of how your brand's performing. So the first part of this dashboard is Search Console. So what this graph shows is you've got, what I've done is filtered down filtered it down to branded queries. So these are all people searching for DeepCrawl or various misspellings of DeepCrawl. Then we've got the number of impressions, the number of clicks, and I've aggregated this on a monthly basis. So within Search Console, you get this on a daily basis, and it's not ideal. So putting this into a monthly view is really useful for glancing at, and you can immediately see how things are performing. So this is great because I don't have to go in and configure things within Search Console itself. It's all there, ready in a dashboard, ready to go. Then similarly, you can bring in My Business data to look at various local listings. So the number of searches for particular local listing, and the total number of actions as well. So people clicking through to our website or looking for directions to our business. It's all really useful stuff to see how that's trending over time, particularly if you've got, if you're an e-commerce store, for example. You can also bring in Google Ads data, so you can look at how your ads are performing over time. So we've got ads showing for branded queries here, the number of impressions, the number of clicks as well, which is something useful that you might want to see. And finally, social metrics as well. So bringing in YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. We've got LinkedIn data visualized here. So looking at the number of people visiting your company page, looking at the follower trend. With Twitter, you could look at the number of people mentioning you over any given time. Just having that all ready to go in one place is a really useful thing to have. The third dashboard, it's a bit of a mouthful, the multi-domain keyword cannibalization dashboard, but it's really useful, especially for large international businesses. You'll know that if you've got a lot of different sites operating in different territories, there's the potential for overlap within these countries. So that's something that you'd need to keep track of. So what this dashboard allows you to do is identify those areas of duplication across different domains, which is typically something that's quite difficult to do. It's flexible enough that you can filter things down by device, country sets, query sets, and you can track these issues over time. And the way that you go about setting that up is in Google Search Console. So you create a property set, pull in all of the different domains that you want to see the overlap for, and then pull that into Data Studio, make sure it's selected as a source. And the dashboard looks like this. So you're setting all of your different filters at the top. It then populates the table below it. And what you're going to see is where different domains are ranking for the same keywords. So this is just visualizing, picking your queries, the countries, the dates, etc. And then the result is this. So we've got, for the DeepCrawl site, we can see that a marketing subdomain is ranking for branded queries, which is something it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. But if you're a large international business, then that's something that might be costing you a lot of money. You want to identify these areas of overlap and deal with them so that you can be more of an efficient business. And finally, streamlining monthly reporting. So if you work for an agency, you're likely to have clients that you report to. If you're working in-house, then you're going to have management to report to. So if you can automate some of that monthly reporting, that's really going to save you a lot of time. So the way that you go about communicating some technical insights using DeepCrawl data would be to create a Zap with a trigger being a Google Calendar invite. You can use that to trigger a crawl, so you don't have to go within the DeepCrawl platform. From there, you can use the completed crawl as a trigger to send a Slack notification and then set up a separate one to update Google Sheets. This then pulls through into Google Data Studio, populates your dashboard. And then you can export that to a PDF, send it on to your client with all of your juicy insights. So the total workflow looks like this, and it looks a bit daunting, but it's super simple to set up. And once you've got that in place, all you need to do is go into Slack and wait for the message for the completed crawl to come through. You can then head over to Data Studio. Your dashboard's going to be there, ready to export as a PDF and send on to a client or management. So don't have much time left, so I'm just going to quickly go through some tips for success in Data Studio. So for getting started, I recommend getting access to all of the tools and data that you need. So using Zapier and Supermetrics is really going to help you get the most out of Data Studio. You then want to spend time bringing in different data sources. You can also use different other data viz platforms like Tableau, Power BI, Domo, but these can cost money. Data Studio is the most accessible option out there. You're then going to want to build out your different dashboards and build these out based on what's most useful to you. There are a load of templates out there, so you don't have to start from scratch or reinvent the wheel. And then I'd recommend sharing and collaborating with others as well. And not just within the industry, but think about in terms of your organization as well, how you can help different teams and people within your team as well. I'd recommend setting up all of your sources right from the off. Configure them well, because what I did, I went in like a bit of a madman. I kind of set up things and just wanted to have like the simplest setup so that I had all of these dashboards ready to go as quickly as possible. But that meant that some things weren't configured correctly, so I'd have to go back, change it, and it all got a bit messy. So I'd recommend, just keeping your cool and keeping it organized with labeling, clear naming conventions. Sounds like boring stuff, but it's going to help you in the long run. Also, make sure you prioritize based on the issues that you actually face. When you get started with Data Studio, you kind of can get a bit carried away and build out things which aren't actually going to save you time. So think about what actually is going to have the most impact on your day-to-day and start there. And yeah, this is going to enable you to move faster in your work life. So I've got a bunch of resources here for you for getting started with Data Studio, so I'd recommend checking those out. These will be available on my slides, which you can find. I'll be posting them on Twitter. I've also written a guide for setting up all of the dashboards mentioned. It's quite quick going through all of them here. But if you head on to bit.ly/SEO-automation, they're all available there. So I'll just leave that up for a second. And if you've got any questions, you can find me on Twitter at Sam_Marsden, or I'll be around all day, so just find me and hit me with the questions. So thank you very much, and enjoy the coffee break.
Thank you so much. Thank you.